Good afternoon, everyone. Jamal here, and welcome back to day one, week two of Nickel Squash at Home. For those of you that didn't tune in this morning to Arthur's workout, our theme of the week is going to be movement, specifically today, the split step. For today's video analysis, we're going to be looking at a match from the World Series Finals in 2016 between Nick the Wolf Mathieu and Miguel the Colombian Cannonball Rodriguez. For those of you that didn't tune in last week, we actually featured Miguel in one of our videos on height and variation. Miguel, for those that don't know, is a former world number 4. He's also the owner of 27 PSA titles, 3 Pan American Game gold medals, and most notably, is the first South American to ever win the British Open in 2018. Miguel's style is pretty much summed up with athleticism, flair, and speed, making him arguably the most entertaining player on tour today. In contrast, Nick the Wolf Mathieu is, I'd say, a very methodical player, very methodical with his movement, with his shot selection, and his strengths are centered around that, along with his volleying, especially across the middle of the court. Nick is a former world number 1, owner of 3 World Open titles, 3 British Open titles, and 3 Commonwealth Game gold medals. So as I said, today we're going to be focusing on the split step. Nick, to me, is arguably the strongest mover across the middle of the court, enabled by his split step. So we're going to be focusing on his movement today. But I also want you guys to look at Miguel's movement to see if there's anything in there that you can add to your games. I just want to give a big shout out to 2 of our juniors who, to me, exemplify the ideals from the split step. Will Evans and Lily Seckendorf, who are our, senior stalwarts in our junior program. For those of you that have seen Will and Lily on Tuesdays and Thursdays during our performance group, they are both effortless movers, especially when they're playing very well. They're very strong, very composed around the middle of the court, and as I said, they make it look very effortless getting onto the ball and also back to the tee. Anyway, so let's begin this match and see what we can look at, what we can glean from these 2 players, especially Nick. So the very first point of the match, let's press play here. I want you guys to see if you can pinpoint who's doing the split step better and why it's more effective. Okay, so we're going to go back into that rally and slow it down once again. One thing to note, as Arthur said earlier, is the positioning at the tee. So something that, sadly enough, took me about 12 years to learn in my squash playing and coaching career is being super low or having a very low center of gravity on the tee has some downside. It's obviously great because it makes it explosive, but it also puts a very heavy toll into your quads. Nick is very tall, he's very upright, not overly so, but he's very upright when he's at the tee. So I want you guys, we're going to go back and rewind it in slow motion, and I want you guys to see how Nick's positioning differs from Miguel's when he's at the tee. So there we can see a very classic split step. It's fairly upright. As he turns, his racket is getting to the ready position so he can play whatever shot he wants. Another split step there. So as I said, one of Nick's strengths, which we're going to see throughout this entire video, is his movement across the middle of the court. So most players on that shot would probably have had to lunge backwards at a sort of 45-degree angle and play that ball in a more defensive position. Nick decides to take it laterally across the middle and volleys. As you can see, by the time he plays his volley drive, Miguel is still working his way back towards the tee, forcing him to go all the way around Nick to go back into the back corner. Now, in this position here, you can see that Miguel is fairly flat-footed. So normally you'd want to be on the balls of your feet, still somewhat upright but ready to spring into position. Miguel, as we can see, has both his heels firmly planted on the ground, hence the term flat-footed. Nick, contrary to his conservative style, plays an attacking drop from the back of the court, which catches Miguel completely by surprise, and, coupled with his flat-footed nature, leads to it being a winner, despite Miguel being extremely fast. There you have it, that's the first rally. Alright, let's move on a little bit. Let's go back to normal speed and turn the volume on so you guys can actually hear the ball. So warning, this rally is going to be a little bit lengthy, but same thing, I want you guys to note how both players are split stepping, how they're getting onto the ball, what they're trying to do technically and tactically to defeat their opponents. Also, one big thing to note, Nick Matthew, at least in our current generation, Nick has arguably the highest tee position out of any player that I've ever seen. So I want you guys to note how that can be positive and how it can be negative throughout this rally. Even though this doesn't directly tie into our theme this week, it actually ties in with our theme last week. We can see Nick's use of height there. Miguel played an overhead drive that was glued to the side wall. Instead of trying to do too much with it, Nick lifts the ball, keeps it just as tight to force Miguel into the back corner, which allows him to take up his tee position, which, as I just said, is extraordinarily high. You can see that Nick, once again, is nice and upright. Racket is about to be ready, and he's looking to pounce on the next ball, like, surprisingly, a wolf. Great lift by Nick. So we're going to go back and review at least a little part of this rally in slow motion, but that finishing shot perfectly exemplifies Nick's strength. As I said, Nick is arguably the best mover of our current generation, even though he is just retired, of the current generation in lateral movement across the middle. So on that shot, it's a very long rally. Miguel's been worked into the back corners. He forces a cross court from the back left corner that doesn't quite get the right width and the right depth. Nick, cutting across, because of his high tee position, can take the ball that much earlier, cuts across the tee line with an open stance, and then puts a straight drop in that Miguel is nowhere near. Anyway, let's go back to a couple parts in that rally and try to slow it down just a little bit. Alright, so right now, Nick is under the cosh just a little bit. Miguel's in front. He plays a great attacking boast. Now, on that shot there, you can see that because, once again, Miguel is a bit flat-footed. Let's go back a tiny bit. So once again, he puts in a nice attacking working boast. Now, from this position, we have a slight split step, but it's not quite as dynamic as Nick's. Now, Nick plays a very loose cross-court lob, or attempted cross-court lob, that lands somewhere around here. If Miguel was a bit more upright, he could have got onto the ball a bit earlier with more stability, which would have allowed him to deliver the ball into this corner with more severity. Instead, because he's flat-footed, we can see that he gets onto the ball a bit late and is forced to collapse onto his shot. While he's able to play a decent drop, it's very easy for Nick to cover, being a great mover himself. Nick instantly plays a cross-court lob that neutralizes Miguel's attacking opportunity on the next shot and gets him back into the rally. There's the collapse. And there's the good cross-court lob, and Nick is immediately back in the rally. As I said, we're not going to do this to the entire rally because it's very long, so let's skip forward a little bit. So Nick plays a cross-court that gets Miguel nice and deep. Miguel tries to flick his cross-court by Nick, but as we can see, it doesn't quite get wide enough. Miguel's cross-court ideally would be hitting the sidewall right around here, which would get outside of Nick's volleying radius. Instead, it kind of comes to the middle right around here. Nick, once again going in with an open stance, racket ready, is able to cut across laterally and put his straight drop in very early. We can see by the time Nick plays his drop, Miguel is well behind him, behind the back of the service box, so he has a ton of coverage of court to cover. And there's the rally. Alright, let's move on to the next rally. Let's get another fairly lengthy rally. Warning. So once again, great split step by Nick on the last shot. Even though he slightly overhit his drop and created a let situation, we can see that he was in control for that rally. If he had delivered the ball just a little bit more severely, it would have been no let, would have been his point. So let's go back just a little bit. Once again, split step by Nick, takes the ball early on his quote-unquote wrong leg, which allows him to get on the ball just a bit earlier and then get back to the tee. A big thing with movement that a lot of players don't tend to focus on is they're super explosive, super dynamic getting onto the ball, but their movement off the ball is a bit labored or it's a bit slower. Which has to note for both of these players how, yes, while they are being very explosive getting onto the ball, they also get back to the tee looking to volley or cut the next ball off as early as possible. Split step by Nick. So Miguel, once again, his split step is very minute, if apparent at all. Once again, Nick is in a perfect position. His feet are shoulder width apart. Very upright, very tall, very strong. We can see that Nick's shot is nice and tight going to the back corner. I think with this knowledge, Nick knows that Miguel has to lift the next ball, so in his mind, he's kind of going into attack mode. Unless Miguel gets the perfect height, Nick is going to cut across the tee line, looking to cut off any shot that Miguel hits. So split step, onto the ball nice and early. We can see that racket's prepared nice and early. Left arm is out for balance, and he's in a nice, stable position. As I said before, unfortunately, he overhits it just a tiny bit, but he's in a perfect position to play that ball in severely into the front left corner. So I want you guys to think about that. When you're looking for the volley, first of all, the mindset. if you've played a good shot and you know that your opponent is forced to lift, I want you guys actively thinking just a little bit more about attacking the next shot by taking it early, whether it's on the volley or just by stepping forward and taking it on the bounce. So think about applying the split step to your game so that you can actually get onto the ball just a bit more dynamically, a bit more explosively, just earlier in general. All right, on to the next rally. It's actually going to be the very next rally, so we're going to let this play out. Gotta love Miguel's fashion sense with the two-tone shoes there. That's a great shot. So we're going to go back and actually watch that rally in full speed again. Once again, it's pretty lengthy, so there's no need to watch it in half speed. But I want you guys to note, A, who's in control of this rally? B, why? Once again, there isn't, I wouldn't say there's anything overly dramatic or overly flashy in this rally. It's ended on a pretty simple drop shot. But for me, what I love to see is watching someone keep their opponent on a string. They're the puppeteer, their opponent's the puppet, and they're kind of just sending them from corner to corner, slowly opening up the gap until they have an absolute opportunity, and then a simple shot is the best shot. So let's go back, watch that rally again. Great use of height once again. So Nick going in on his preferred opposite quote-unquote leg on the forehand side, plays a great straight float to keep Miguel pinned behind him. And we have one volley across the middle. We have two volleys across the middle. Three volleys across the middle from Nick. Takes the ball early. Four volleys across the middle, forces Miguel back into the back left corner. It's five volleys across the middle. Six volleys across the middle. Technically seven, but not a super attacking shot. Cross-court lob. So once again, going back to what we did last week, the cross-court lob, or using height, it's usually thought of as a defensive shot. In this situation, Nick knows that Miguel's creeping forward to cover whatever he hits short. So he lifts the ball, gets it behind Miguel, forcing him to play a very defensive shot, keeping him in control of the rally. And there we have it. So I'd say early on in the rally, Miguel was neutral or might have had a slight advantage, but Nick's use of height negated Miguel's opportunity, or attacking opportunities, and from there, he very slowly opened the gap by just taking the ball consistently earlier. As I said, it's physically, once again, it's hard, but it's attainable. It's physically getting ready on the tee, being nice and tall, split stepping, getting onto the ball early. But also, very importantly, it's the mindset of I want to take the ball early. I know that my opponent is limited in their options, so I'm going to try to cut off their options, or hopefully singular option, with my racket ready and get on the ball early. Alright, let's go on to the next rally. Skip ahead just a tiny bit. Let's go back to that shot again. So for those of you that don't know, one of my favorite shots is a cross-court nick. Don't really care who plays it, when it's played, which side. It's very, I guess, flashy way of ending a rally. Nick, as I said, is known for being a bit more methodical. That last rally that we just showed is very emblematic of what he did throughout his entire career. He doesn't really go for the absolute winner. It's all about keeping his opponent away from the tee and very slowly, once again, working the rally, working his opponent, and just keeping them uncomfortable and away from attacking positions. In this rally, though, contrary to his style, Nick decides to go for a cross-court nick because he feels like he's in a very good attacking position. So let's actually slow it down a little bit. I can't stress this enough. Once again, let's look at Nick's tee position. He's, I'd say, a half a step behind the service line, as opposed to Miguel and other players who are, I'd say, a half a step, if not a full step further back here, simply because the nature of the game, pace is very fast, so a lot of guys hang back, A, because the ball's coming off the front wall faster, but also because they know that they can athletically cover the front of the court very easily. So good lift by Miguel. Nice tight drive by Nick. Another great lift by Miguel, keeping it nice and tight. Nice, not a bad cross-court lob from Nick. Plays the forehand drive to get Miguel behind him. And now, knowing that Miguel had to go straight, we can see that Nick is in front of Miguel, racket ready. He's pushing up on the court, looking to take it nice and early. You can also see that Miguel is obviously coming from the back right corner, so by the time Nick plays his shot, he knows that Miguel is going to be a bit further away from the left side of the court, meaning that this area is open and this area is open. Normally we would see Nick play more of a fading cross-court drive into this back left corner, but as I said, it could be confidence, could be, might have been feeling it a little bit from the pace of the previous rallies, but Nick decides to go for the cross-court nick here, which as we can see, actually works out very well. Boom, there we have it. End of the rally. Alright, so we're going to look at one more rally in this game. Let's fast forward just a little bit. Alright, so let's actually go back to that. It's a very short rally. Sorry. Okay, so once again, very short rally, and as I said, it's not a very typical Nick rally. Nick likes to lengthen the rallies out, play to the back of the court, really force the opening, but as we can see, once again, scoreline is 9-7. The game's been going on for over 20 minutes now. So Nick might be feeling it a bit physically, but also he very simply could be confident in taking the ball in short based on his positioning and Miguel's positioning. So let's go back to that and play it in slow motion. Alright, so Nick's lofted serve forced the weak reply from Miguel. He has to dig it out of the back left corner. As we can see, once again, we can see how far forward Nick is. He basically has his foot on the service line in that open stance. Let's go back ever so slightly. So you can see, once again, nice and tall, upright. He knows that Miguel has to lift and go straight. So in his mind, he's thinking, if that ball is loose, I'm cutting across the tee line, taking that ball early. He gets exactly what he wishes. As we can see, once again, nice and balanced. Foot's about to land, racket's up, left hand's out. Perfect position for the volley drop. You can see Miguel, once again, is a bit too far back. Quality of the volley drop is immensely good. Ball's nice and tight. End of the rally. Something super simple. It's not a flashy shot. It's taken in severely, sure, but it's not super flashy. He's not opening the court up. He's not creating too many angles. Something super simple, precipitated by the mindset and the physicality. He's getting onto the ball super early. As they replay this in slow motion, I want you guys to note one major thing, something that, once again, a lot of juniors tend to forget to do. So a lot of juniors, the quality of their shot, if it's super high, a lot of them kind of switch off. You can see them, their muscles relax, they rock back on their heels, and they forget to follow up their shot. Or, what I see happen a lot is they put their hands up automatically, thinking that their shot is too good, so their opponent must have gotten the ball in the second bounce. We can see here, as we look at the slow-mo, is although Nick plays a super high quality shot, he gets back in position and looks to follow up his shot just in case Miguel gets it back. In reality, it doesn't really hurt you. So we can see right here, once again, the drop is very tight, but you can see Nick is intently looking at the shot. He's in the middle of his split step, so he's just split step and he's about to take off. If Miguel had gotten a rack on that ball, he would have been forced to lift. Nick is in position to then volley whatever Miguel hits next and probably play it into this back right corner. So thankfully, Nick's shot was too tight, so you didn't have to worry about that. But it takes absolutely nothing out of all of you guys to prepare just in case to follow up your shot and anticipate that your opponent gets one extra shot back. Right? So we're gonna let the rest of this game play out, but I want you guys to think about adding that to your games. Great finish on Miguel. So we can also see that, contrary to me kind of gushing on about Nick's movement and his split step and his positioning and his mindset, Miguel was still able to win the game. All right, so once again, this today was a demonstration on movement, on how we're going to use the split step to get into ideal positions, getting onto the ball early, creating more attacking opportunities, and getting into a better attacking mindset. I want you guys to comment down below with things that you would like to work on or things that you would like to improve in your game to get into that attacking mindset. Also, if you guys were to play someone like Miguel, someone who's very fast, dynamic, and attacking, what would your game plan be? And in the converse, if you were to play someone like Nick, who's a very good volleyer, very methodical, hits good length, what would your game plan be against a player like this? As I said, comment down below. If you guys have any further questions, once again, feel free to email me at jamal@nickelssquash.com. All right, well, it was a pleasure showing this video to you guys, and hope to see you guys soon. Stay safe. Bye.